Hi, welcome to the dumps, the place for all your side needs. I usually have an intro plan for these, but the only joke I have is Buzzfeed because Buzzfeed is a joke. Yeah, that's it.
It, yeah,
But yeah. Anyway, we're here. We have a new guest, and this is sort of the elongated epilogue to what the dumps October was, which was kind of a disappointment in views, but I had a lot of fun with it. And so we're ending it with Dear David, and also the movie we're all here to watch, the FNAF movie. And here today I have Driftflix to talk about both of these. Introduce yourself.
hello, hello. I'm Griplex. This is a bit. I don't know what to say. This is like the first podcast I've been on. I haven't been featured in many YouTube points. I've been in like two fan movies, but only like as an edited character. I wasn't like by one. I would just speech voice. So if anyone remembers me, they're probably I don't know if they're even gonna find this video, but yeah, I just kind of with this idea for this episode. Then Dear David came on later when I just couldn't find anything else to talk about in addition to FNAF.
That's you. Um. Anyway, I have no notes for either of these, so we're gonna start with the one that I probably thought was like the most boring. It is Dear David. I don't know if anyone even cares about this movie, but Dear David is a movie created by Buzzfeed Studios alongside Lionsgate, I think, or I don't know. But
Yeah, Lionsgate. That's the only other company I remember.
yeah, and so they based this off one of their Buzzfeed employees slash artists who created this story on a Twitter thread. It was called Dear David, and it was basically just him staring at his door because his cats were staring at this door. And then there was also a tweet where he was like, "Oh my God, I drew a picture of David, and it looked." It's just a boy with a dented head on it, and it ended with him like encountering David, and it was actually like a decent like horror story. It's like one of those like YouTube like anime horror stories, except
Yeah,
they're not like the worst thing ever. I
that is
could read but it's like it's fine. It's not worth like a
weird.
theatrical thing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I'll be honest. I first found out the story. I was basically watching one of those top 10 scariest things found on security camera, and the Twitter thread was shown as like one of the top three, and that's how that was back in like 2019, where I was easily scared by anything, so it left quite an impact on me. So when I randomly found out earlier this year when that it was getting a movie, I was kind of surprised because like
yeah.
this is really out there by nowadays. I don't think anyone remembers it that much.
Yeah, the thing is, the original Twitter thread was made in 2017, and the thread lasted until like early 2018, so it wasn't even like big of a deal
It's like
like
the most
for
random.
yeah.
It's like the most. It's like the most random ass thing to make a movie on by now. Not by now.
Yeah, no, we've all made fun of like movies that are based on the internet, so it seemed kind of weird that this movie happened to exist and that we kind of had to accept that it existed, and no one saw it. So all I know is it was apparently shot in 2021, but they didn't. They wanted to release it in 2022, but apparently
Oh,
they just delayed it to 2023, which is strange. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I guess Dear David has been cooking for like 3 years.
I I remember they said like a couple of years ago that like, a movie was gonna be in production, but I didn't hear about anything. I didn't hear about anything of it until later this year. It's just weird. It's like it just randomly came out, no one saw it, and then that's it. I
That's
don't even know
literally
what
it.
the original writer of the tweets thinks about it.
Yeah, I don't know what he feels about the fact that his fucking Twitter thread that he probably spent not too much time on finally got like a movie. Maybe he saw it. Maybe he liked it. I have no idea. But the movie it was
Was
it was terrible. It's terrible.
terrible. It's not the worst thing I've seen all year. There's like at least seven other or eight other that I think are worse. Like I don't think anything has topped Enemy and Tree, but it's definitely down there. I don't even like despise it. It wasn't painful. It's just a big nothing burger of terrible writing.
Yeah, if you think of every modern horror trope, it's there. You have the rocking chair, which that was from the original story, but also it was just really atypical. Then there's also the whole, oh, you're being too consumed by this ghost and you won't be able to hang out with me. And classic relationship issues, except the couple is gay, so I guess that means something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I had no idea. I think I got it. Like the first time I found out about this movie was like when I was looking at my cinema page and it was there as one of the upcoming ones. Then I saw the trailer and it looked awful, and then the actual movie was even worse.
Yeah, they feature a lot of Buzzfeed studios, and for some reason, they don't even portray Buzzfeed as a fun place to work at. They're kind of like they make
They're
Justin
blunt
Long,
about
who
it.
was in who voices Alvin from the Alvin and the Chipmunks quadrilogy, and also in Barbarian. He's in this. I don't know why he's here, but he plays like the Buzzfeed boss. And he's like, "Hey, why are you so late to work all of a sudden?" And that whole escapade happens, and it's fine. It's weird that they portray like BuzzFeed as like kind of a bad place to work at when it's made by BuzzFeed. It's not like they're self-aware. It's just weird.
Yeah. It's just I have like no opinion on BuzzFeed. I think I once read like something about them, but that's it. I just know that the reputation is fucking terrible, and that's it.
Yeah, they're to get a background on BuzzFeed, they are a terrible company that makes just pumps out these terrible articles and quizzes. I first encountered them a couple years ago when then like my cousin showed off like, oh hey, look at these little quizzes and you can figure out whether or not you're gay or who's the biggest Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, which they mention in this. They literally mentioned that exact thing like these like top 5 episodes will reveal what type of person you are. It's like I
Yeah.
what I I'm kind of scared that this is like modern cinema sometimes. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's
I think like you mentioned when you were doing commentary in Hell server, like you said like even if the BuzzFeed Studios was logo wasn't shown, we would have thought it was because it's so bad. And like the first few minutes or so, like when Kesha's just being assholes on Twitter, it's kind of ironically funny to me, but after a while it just starts to
oh yeah,
become really
the opening is really funny because he's like, "Why are you guys so mean?" And then there's like, "We're just haters," or "You're a loser," and I'm like, "No one talks like this. No one has ever talked like
a
this."
character literally says slay. That's like one of the few movies I've seen that say slay.
I think the problem with Slay is just it's too mainstream, so now everyone knows it, and when an internet trend goes outside the internet, that's when like people start to resent the term, and that's kind of just sad, because I don't know, the term wasn't that bad. Actually, it was. It always was. I don't know why people used it, but I digress. They used it really poorly in this. What a shock! Like most internet movies, I expect nothing, and I still get nothing. It still disappoints me somehow.
Yeah, and
Oh my
then
god.
they use "die in a fire" like as an acronym. I don't think anyone's ever done that. I don't think
Yeah,
I've ever
no,
seen anyone use
no.
it.
Has it?
In the
I'm
big,
genuinely curious. Is this an actual thing? Like die in a fire? Is that an actual thing people use? Did people used to use
I
that? I have
don't.
no idea.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone say it. I think you just like maybe. I think one of the producers, but like you said, it was shot in 2012, 2021, and maybe one of the producers was like reading old YouTube videos. They saw that as like an insult, and they decided to put it in without considering if it feels right to be put in a
Yeah, no,
modern
it
movie.
it feels like one of those like old like it's not like 2012 old, but like 2008 old type of shit where they were still trying to figure out like acronyms that people use like fuck you mean or like what the fuck. And I guess one of them was die in a fire, but I have legit never heard of this before. When I think of the word die in a fire, all I think of is the Living Tombstone song. So I don't care. I don't know anyone who uses it. If anyone used to use it, I want answers. But do I actually care enough about this movie to even indulge that? No, I don't.
This is one of like I've been doing. I think like for the past few days I've been doing like a Friday the 13th Elm Street like binge and so that kind of like, I feel like that kind of washed away my any much interest in this movie. So a lot of it kind of went away. But I just remember a lot of it just being just really blatantly bad shit.
Yeah, it's just blatantly bad horror trope shit. Like, yeah, rocking chair, child jump scare, and honestly, I've kind of forgotten my main problems with the movie because I couldn't give a shit about this movie. I watched it like on my fucking telephone. I don't care. And if I did, I that would be just genuinely depressing because I don't see the
It's
point.
fucking Dear David.
It's Dear David. This is kind of the Evil Dead rise of the dumps where I have legit nothing to say because all I think about is, yeah, BuzzFeed produced this. It was shot in 2021. That's all I know. I think the movie kind of blanked on me after a while. I was originally gonna give it a heart
Yeah.
for those like first 20 minutes, but then it just kind of became boring. Like most horror movies.
The funny thing is, I think like four people I follow haven't even watched this, and you're the only other one I follow that actually watched it. And yeah, I don't think and I think it's one of those that they once they realize the reviews or something, they will remove it or they just completely forget about it. I don't see
Yeah.
anyone else I follow actually watching this.
Yeah, nope.
So
Don't
bad.
watch it. It's not just a bad movie. It's just a waste of your time and space in your brain because it'll just ultimately dissipate anyway. So yeah, that's Dear David. Now on to a
Mm,
much more fun movie. The FNAF movie,
yeah,
the Five Nights at Freddy, Five Nights at
yeah.
Freddy's. Yeah.
This is pretty much like for a while, this was like my main anticipation this year. It was like the main thing I was anticipating because I think if anyone who knows me should know that I have a very close attachment to the franchise. I will admit it is mostly on the fan side more than the canon. I know about the lore, but I mostly just kind of I play the games. They're good. Well, like, three was mid, but that's besides the point.
Mm.
I watched multiple like plush videos and read fan fiction. I'm just like it's like my main comfort franchise if it makes any sense.
Yeah, no. I kind of grew up around like when this shit was like popping off. I watched this one guy, I forget his name, but he kind of just disappeared. He deleted all his videos, but I genuinely liked his content. I miss him. But yeah, I'm not well versed in that sphere, but mainly I've always been a part of this FNAF fandom since around when like FNAF 2 or FNAF 3 came out. I watched the Markiplier videos. I watched some other players like play the game, but I did play some of the games myself, mainly the mobile versions. I remember like buying like a bundle of those, and I
I
remember
played them
watching.
on like I played them on like a site because I don't think I've ever paid for like to download a game, and given the fact that it is just kind of a clicking simulator, it's a good one, but like I don't think it's worth that much money, so I just played it off a random playing site.
I think the first time I paid for a FNAF game was Sister Location, but that was on my really old Steam account. I did complete the game, but I shit my pants throughout all of it. Not literally, but
I
yeah,
got into the I got
it was scary for me.
I got in I got into the franchise in like 2016. I remember my earliest memory was like seeing the a picture of it on like Google Play, and it scared me, and then I actually like started watching videos about it, and it really started appealing to me. But like it wasn't until like 2020 when I started like really finding myself attached to it and just watching a lot of videos to it, and just kind of spiraled from there.
Yeah, I have long waited for this movie because I remember people describing like, I swear to God, this FNAF movie hasn't come out in 4 years, and that was 4 years ago. I remember this. They were like, "Oh my God, Warner Brothers is gonna make the FNAF movie in like 2014." This was so long ago that it completely boggles my mind that I kind of thought, no, the FNAF movie will never come out because I legit thought it would just be stuck in development hell as most people did. Because we had Warner Bros. Was originally going to be attached to it. Scott Cawthon wrote about like two or three drafts, and they were just all scrapped, and it eventually moved to Blumhouse and Universal,
I
where
remember
they just sort of
I
came out, and I was just kind of surprised when I saw that first trailer. I was like, oh, it's finally happening. I was just kind of boggled by that because it seemed like it would never ever come out. It just seemed like it. Seemed like just an
out of
idea in my
every
brain. It
out of
it wasn't
every
like
movie
reality.
I know about, this was like the last one I thought would actually ever happen. I remember, like back when I first got Letterboxd, I saw like a page of the early page of the movie where it said it was going to be directed by Chris Columbus, the guy who did Pixels and shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had no idea what to expect. So like when and then in 2021, I think news came about it or something that
yeah,
I don't know. I know I hadn't. I then 2022, part of the cast was shown, but I had no idea when it would actually come out. So when a random picture and announcement of it came in like April of this year, I was actually shocked that it was actually happening. I wasn't sure if I was ready, and then just for months I've been waiting for like, I think more than any other movie, this one excited me the most because like it was an actual like film representation of the shit I was like my main comfort franchise. So of course I was gonna see it in theaters.
yeah. You got to see it in theaters. I saw it at home personally, but yeah, this has been in the making for like over 8 years. It's been many. It's been through many redrafts since Scott Cawthon doesn't know how to write stories, but we'll get to that later. He's more. I will say he's more of an idea person, so I do understand that having to translate everything about the games into like the movie as like the games like grew larger and larger as a franchise, that must have been difficult, which is probably why it was in development hell for so long. But the final product we got from all of that build up was it was kind of bad, but also it was really fun. So I don't really give a shit at
And
all.
yeah, no, the movie, objectively speaking, it's like maybe 4 or 5 levels. It's just really dumb, like which is expected from Blumhouse
Yeah.
standards. Personally, like maybe it was because I watched it with my mom in theaters. Maybe that enhanced my enjoyment, but in general, I just, even putting aside my attachments, I found it to be a really interesting movie and to watch, all things considered. Even for it's really, really, really just it's just not well thought out at all. I would never defend it as a genuinely like well written movie. It's just everything I
Oh, it
wanted from
is
like a fantasy
not.
movie.
It is not well written, despite literally 8 years of
Yeah,
writing. I'm kind of pissed off that it took 8 years to write this, but also at the same time, I have to consider Scott Cawthon is not actually a writer. If you don't know anything about the FNAF games have the most overcomplicated lore of all time. Literally, everyone knows this. They know that Scott
actually,
Cawthon's
yeah,
been
it
pulling
just
this out of his ass, but it's really entertaining when you like look at like a film theory, no, a game theory video on it or some other shit because it's just
yeah.
way too complicated for its own good. Clearly, they made up some of the backstory and they made it too vague enough to where people can interpret it. And Scott kind of got
Yeah,
trapped in that sort of
yeah, the
method.
movie just
Yeah.
yeah, the movie just kind of has a lot of exposition dumping, which I didn't mind because like I don't know, I just kind of was I just kind of didn't care that much. I was just enjoying it, but yeah, upon further thinking, it just really feels like thrown in because this franchise is so complicated that I feel like the people of mine had no faith that you would have to pick up on the plot point yourself, so they
Yeah,
just kind
no,
of
if you're going into
had
this movie
had a, like
blind, that is the worst possible thing you could do, like, at all. Just, you
yeah,
can't
they
do
just had a,
that.
like a whole, just had like a whole character to just exposition dump through the movie,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Vanessa is, like, explaining, like, oh, William Afton is actually Springtrap, and it just feels like a game theory explanation because this movie is entirely made for fans. It's not like Mario where they introduce you to this world. They don't even introduce you to anything. They introduce you to your main character since all we know about like the FNAF characters that we play as players,
yeah, yeah.
especially in the
I'd
early
say like
games, is we know nothing about them. So that's kind of like their point.
Yeah, I'd say like from if you're just going into it, like expecting a dumb fun horror experience, maybe you'll kind of like get interested in the games, but I don't. But it's not like Mario where it's like, oh, it's easily accessible, just not, just won't get you just won't get that much out of it. Just it's kind of the same experience, but not really at the same time.
Yeah, it's not like Mario movie where it's like a bunch of Easter eggs. Instead, this is straight up all the lore shit, and you're gonna have to process all that. And for most film critics, I don't think they've ever heard of a FNAF sister location in their entire life, so it's probably gonna be a heart attack for them having to follow this shit.
Yeah, to me,
No.
yeah, the plot to me just kind of feels like they to me feel like during the production they just kind of went, fuck it, this movie is taking way too long. Just show in a bunch of the recent, we're just showing a bunch of, we're showing a bunch of shit, and we don't have much time to think things through. We're just gonna just kind of focus on like the main thing we want to do, and then the movie happens.
Yeah, the movie kind of just it feels kind of fan made to me. I don't know if it was just me. I like
Yeah, no, it
Emma
just
Tammy. I like her as a director. She does try to add a bit of scale to the animatronics. There's a couple of good lighting choices and the way they shoot
I
some of
think, I
things.
think, I think, yeah, I think the robots were like the best part of the movie because, like, even putting aside how well made they are, they're just like the genuinely the main thing that like held the care of the movie, even if they aren't really in a murderous light for the most part. They just, which surprised me since there's only like one scene where they kind of do what they're known for, and the rest they're just kind of weirdly friendly.
Yeah, they're really friendly, and I like the way they're designed because while at the same time they can't be capt they can't capture the game because for as well
You
lit
know,
as
they
some
look
of the movie is, they cannot replicate some of the
the
horror aspects
creepiness.
of those like first three games or so
The
because
games, the reason, if I can explain, like the reason the games managed to like freak me out a bit is because the general atmosphere is like feels like it's
yeah,
so really grimy or something. It's so
yeah,
like black, green. It's white, gray. It just general expressions the characters make you. It
The
adds
Henson
to the
Company made
feel.
some
The movie has
they made some
the
amazing
actual electronics.
puppets. Yeah, they made amazing
That
puppets, but
like
also like they
robots
don't
are
feel
well
that
made,
scary to
but
me. They're just not that
It,
scary.
I know they're well made, but I would not really say that. I would say I was disturbed by the movie at points, but I would never really say they're scary because, if anything, just feel way too goofy in a live action environment for
Yeah,
me to really be
because
scared by.
there's a lot of coverage, there's a lot of lighting, there's some good lighting choices, but they don't. The thing about the animatronics in those games is that you kind of had to hide the animatronics in order to communicate that, and the fact that they were just camera stills adds a lot more to it because you're just so used to them as standing still that when they change movement slightly, but they're still standing still like that as if it's normal, is kind of what adds to the uncanniness of it all because they're acting like animatronics,
Yeah,
but they're doing something that's probably gonna kill you, and they're getting closer and closer without having to show you any of how they get there. They're just teleporting there, and it's kind of scary. And those limitations
yeah,
kind of add to it. But with this, you see the animatronics moving, like, and it just doesn't
yeah.
feel quite
It just,
right with me. It's just weird.
yeah, yeah. I would like if I had to be honest. There's definitely, if anything, I think a lot of the creep factor just kind of came to me from
Yeah.
like more of like the main like my favorite part of the movie is when the goons raid the pizzeria and
Oh
they
yeah.
attack and they don't want to
It's
attack. That's
weird.
like the one part of the movie that feels like embraces the concept well. The
Yeah.
rest just kind of it's fun, but like it doesn't feel that authentic for what it's going for.
Yeah, no, I like the way they shoot that scene particular because it kind of captures the games. Like halfway there, but they're not quite there. It's still well done. I appreciate like a lot of that scene. But speaking of that plot line, that subplot with the aunt and those two other guys and the lawyer, that was
Yeah,
the strangest part of the movie. It feels very shoehorned in, and very stupid actually.
and like the weird part is like I think later on in the movie, like I think when Golden Freddy like goes to the house, it's never explained how the kid got there, but the aunt is like laying down. I remember this like part. I don't know if she's just asleep, but if she's dead, the movie just completely forgets about it and just moves on. I don't think it's ever resolved. It just goes nowhere.
Yeah, I like that nobody knew about the hired goons, but at the same time, How did the animatronics clean that up? I'm just kind of wondering. I can imagine the image of like Bonnie holding like the mop, since he's the closet guy, but also just I
It's
don't
just
get why the aunt
there's
is
so
just
much.
like why she
Yeah,
badly wants this girl, because I don't get her motivation. She's like, oh, I need to keep him away from his brother, who's malicious and evil, but at the same time, she has other malicious intentions by trying to get his brother caught doing something that's mildly aggressive that might get them to get the custody. But I'm just wondering, what does she get out of this? Because if she
like
doesn't have
the weird.
anything morally to get out of
It,
this,
it,
does she have like financial compensation? No, they never say
you
anything about
know,
that. It's just
the
weird.
weird thing with the weird thing with the glue scene is like I think Hal mentioned this, but the weird part is like don't they realize that if they do this, like they will be the ones in trouble, not Mike.
Yeah, no, it's
Like
just like I like Mike's character, but that whole subplot feels like an elongated way to say Mike is this is Mike's
it
redemption,
feels
or
it,
yeah,
it feels
it's
like forced conflict.
yeah. And another thing is those
Yeah,
are like the main kills of the movie. Those four people who are ultimately useless to the entire like plot, and they feel kind of just a way to lead into the animatronics doing something, or they're just kind of there to pad out the runtime. If I'm gonna be honest, it really does
yeah.
feel like that.
It did the whole scene like as much as like it definitely does feel like kind of thrown in there just so they can have like at least one scene of murdering and that's it.
There's also the repeating dream stuff, which I kind of get. It's like, oh, he keeps having the same nightmare, and you're gonna have to escape this trauma. But you don't need to show me the dream twice. And when he's like following all those kids, like in each one of those dreams, uh, I don't know what they're hinting at. Is there like a fucking hypnosis, like connection thing? Like, oh, their minds are connecting, and then the spiritual world or some shit. If that is, that makes no sense. If it's sort of there to indicate to as a motif for stuff happening later on. I don't remember those motifs being that important later on anyway, so I don't get why
Yeah,
those scenes
the dream
exist.
parts, the dream parts I didn't mind them, but like out of everything in the movie, they interested me the least. They just
Also,
I think
if yeah,
generally like
I'm
the
I'm
whole
just kind of
plot. But
wondering,
yeah, you know?
cause like Mike is like at his house having these dreams, and yet these animatronics from so far or their spirits are able to like claw at him and like beat him up, or it's strange. I mean, I guess like at other points he has to be nearer to the restaurant for that to work, but I think there's one scene where he's like at his house still having these type of nightmares. And so what I'm kind of interested in talking about is Purple Guy. So what if Purple Guy was asleep and they just slashed him? I guess the whole point is that like they are hypnotically entranced by Purple Guy, like he's just like, you had to
Yeah,
work for me and kill
it's
these
so
people. It's weird. Like
it feels like thrown in there just because.
it really
Like I feel like
is
there's onto
thrown in there.
something, but it just feels at the same time just kind of randomly thrown in there.
Yeah, and speaking of
I
Purple
don't know.
Guy, he appears near the beginning and he
Oh yeah,
appears at the end. That's weird.
like that was like my main problem with probably that. Like
Yeah,
the movie kind of expects you to know who he is. It just doesn't feel very accessible with him. Like for anyone
yeah,
who's like a fan, it's an interesting like way, but like he doesn't ever appear in the middle. So just kind of when he does appear later, it just feels so random. Like for general moviegoers who have no idea what the franchise is about.
yeah. No, if I like brought like let's say a random mother to see this and their kid who wants to see this, like I don't think the mom would understand who the fuck William Afton is. But that little kid will definitely understand who William Afton is if he knows anything about FNAF. And that's like so strange because it really is an accessible movie in that specific instance. Other aspects of the movie are more accessible, but the overall picture is just kind of weird. And William Afton as a character, he's kind of not built up to. He just kind of shows up in the Springtrap suit and everything, and it's revealed that
Yeah.
Vanessa, who's like a police officer, but she doesn't go on duty. She just follows Mike, and she doesn't have like a partner, and she also never mentions doing any police stuff. She's also the daughter of William Afton for some reason. I don't know what the fuck is going on. and also she shares the same name of the girl from Security Breach and Help Wanted, which that's I don't know what their plan is there. I don't know why Vanessa's there.
You know, it like I don't know, it all just to me she just kind of feels thrown in there, not just for its position, but because like I don't know, it feels like they wanted to like I think part of me feel like they just wanted to like introduce later parts of the game to just maybe make people who have gotten into the franchise recently more interested, but also like I don't know, I just it feels the movie feels like it feels like it wants to be like more grander than it is at the same time.
Yeah, it's more of like a setup. Like it's kind of like one of those like movies where they're setting up all these things, and if the movie's a success, then they can finally actually do what they want to do. And that's kind of what the whole movie is kind of like. It really feels like you could be doing a lot more, but instead you're wasting a lot of my time here. But you know what? It's done in an entertaining way. I don't have a problem with it. I still like the movie a lot because it's just it feels like
Uh,
it definitely feels like a Blumhouse movie, but it's an
it's
honest
yeah,
Blumhouse movie. It doesn't feel like one of those
I will say
scams, like oh, like
I
Truth or
just
Dare or The
if I can
Purge.
just be honest, out of every Blumhouse horror film, this is like probably my favorite one.
Yeah,
I'm not sure fully. Yeah, I think it's probably like I want to say the least flawed one, but I will say I definitely like it more than Get Out or Megan because those two are like so blatantly stupid, and this one is as well. But like this one, I guess it's mainly because
mainly it's
I
the
mean I will admit
structure and some of the lore being stupid, but it's not like the worst thing ever. It's still bad, but like
Megan broke me. This felt more casual for me to watch general.
yeah. I don't know. I think Get Out is better, but also that movie. I have a weird relationship with Peel movies, but that's for another time. Another time.
That's for another time.
Another time.
Generally, I think Megan is more comparable because they're both like they have both like the same vibe. They feel like the same kind of movie, but the difference between them is just Megan is constant bullshit writing, whereas FNAF is more like it feels less. It feels more understandable for what it's going for, which makes it more enjoyable. But also, it's not that much different in terms of writing with how stupid it gets at points.
I also want to talk about that drawing that for some reason like shows William Afton as like this cold-blooded killer. Did anyone ever
Yeah.
notice that? I don't know about that.
It,
It wasn't like
oh,
the drawings like connecting to like things happening in real life. I don't know what's going on with that. Uh,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
weird.
it just feels unresolved. It just feels,
Oh yeah, no,
yeah,
it
no.
definitely feels just kind of like oh throw this in, throw that in, and it's like okay, okay, sure. Uh, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. And then there's also the whole climax in general, which I think is very epic because they kill William Afton and he says, "I will be back. I always come back." But also, for outsider FNAF fans, that makes no sense because he hasn't.
I'm gonna be honest, if let's say I had no connection to the franchise, I just wanted to see it on horror movie theaters. I picked this, and I would just be confused out of my mind
Yeah,
watching the
yeah,
climax.
because he says,
It's
"I'll
so
always
stupid.
come back." Because it's the line from the video game, but also that makes no sense. How does that happen? Because he hasn't died before.
It
This is the
feels
first time he's dying, and it's not
it feels
like
like they just added that line. That line feels
uh,
forced in because like of all the memes, it feels like they just edited it because to make the movie more epic and without thinking if it actually makes sense within the context of the movie
yeah, it
at all.
doesn't. It just doesn't fit the context of the movie. I have no idea why they put that in, but it was kind of funny. So I don't really care about that much. It's I'm just it's just so weird that like a lot of the choices this movie makes, and yet I still like the movie despite all of that. I don't know. Just I think it's not a very good movie. Nowhere near that.
It's stupid
But
as shit, but I love it.
I love it to death because I think it just adapts the games perfectly. And I couldn't have it any other way. And I don't think that it's
Yeah,
worth
I think I
complaining
like.
too much about it.
Yeah, I think I like. I think next to Sonic 2 is my favorite video game movie purely because like those two are like, and maybe because they're over an hour long, like or at least come close to 2 hours. They just kind of managed to bring that epic feel to me when I both saw them in theater. So just kind of blend in it with how
Yeah,
much I enjoyed them. Though FNAF definitely means more to me because
yeah.
like of course it does.
Uh, there's a lot more other complaining I could do, but I honestly really do think this is a fun movie, and I do think everyone needs to check it out. I don't think it deserves like a highest grossing horror movie of like ever.
I
Apparently,
definitely don't
I don't
think
know.
I definitely don't think it as terrible as some like critics make it out to be, but it's definitely really weirdly written. It feels I
From
don't think
from
I
an
just yeah.
from an outsider standpoint, from a critical standpoint, it does not work. From a fan standpoint, though, it works. Why the
Yeah,
fuck not?
it's
Like, yeah.
yeah, it's definitely like the Mario movie where like I enjoyed it because of my attachment to the franchise, but I feel like if I had none of it, then I would just kind of be like not care that much. Like I would maybe be entertained, but not
See,
really. It wouldn't get
yeah,
much
I
out of
was
it.
entertained, but I did not care. But I still thought in my head like, oh, Vanessa's a cop. This place is somehow still open, even though like people have investigated this place countless times before. How has it not like been demolished? Another thing to consider is like a lot of the murders happening there. Did they never saw the connection? Is Vanessa like covering this up? How would she cover this up? And other bullshit like that. But I don't think I need to think about that much longer because I do want to rewatch this movie because I still think it's worth my time because I enjoyed it. So and you clearly
It's
love
like
it a ton. So I
yeah, I'm
it's fine.
thinking of even actually, I'm thinking of like even rewatching it with like a friend from like elementary school. Eventually, again, I'm not sure if maybe I don't know. Depends if I have time, but maybe I'll watch it in tears. Maybe I'll just rewatch it
Hmm.
later on digital. Yeah, I have like a whole piracy site for it, but yeah, I'm just happy that it wasn't a complete disaster, and it was like everything that I needed it to be from at least an enjoyable standpoint for me. It's like the definition of like out of every modern horror film, this is my favorite, even if like Hereditary, Midsommar, or like the first It movie beat it.
Yeah, of all things I'm happy about FNAF is that I'm proud of that you got to experience it and you enjoyed it. That is all I really cared about in the end when I heard that the movie was coming out. And I'm thankful for that because you seem to really want this to be good, and I'm glad you did. I also,
Yeah,
deep
yeah,
down, from a more innocent perspective, from when I really truly appreciate this franchise for a lot of things, that I finally got to see what a movie I thought would just never happen. And then when that
yeah.
end credit music played,
I
man, that was
I
like
was always
amazing.
like from the trailers alone, I was just kind of always expecting to be dumb considering the studio, but
Yeah.
like the fun type, and it was like what I wanted. And then like we were just about to mention, like when I heard I was spoiled for the end credit song, but didn't mind because hearing it in a theater was just godly for me. Like it was just so epic.
It was chilling because it was like, no, there's no way they got the rights to it, and they did. They did, and it was just so wonderful. I
I was not expecting the song to appear. I was expecting Markiplier to appear, but not the song, and it ended up being the
I was
opposite, and it was
fucking
just and I
cheering
was
for that
satisfied either
shit.
way.
I was in my like desk like cheering for that shit. It was amazing. I did not expect that. It was so awesome. I love
I
that.
think like in general, the soundtrack of the movie is really good. My favorite one is like the opening like animation where they play
Yeah, yeah.
with the bit with the chill thing. That's like when I played it in the chair, I got chills. It just adds to like
Yeah,
it adds to the tone of the
I
movie.
like the music cue when they introduced Springtrap for the first time. That was really cool. Yeah, I do like some of the soundtrack bits. I don't remember enough to talk about them specifically in detail. Plus, I don't know much about music theory, but it really did add to the experience. I appreciate the score as well. I'm glad you mentioned that because
Yeah.
I thought I was like the only one that kind of noticed some of that like nice music. It was good. Yeah, I like that
The whole
quite a
like
lot.
yeah I don't know I like the general like this film, this feels like this movie feels like a dream come true to me. Like it's just like the exact thing I needed for a year like this. I'm not gonna get too personal. This year has not been that good for me, but I will say there have been a lot of ups to it, and this movie is certainly one of them.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's everything we wanted. I know we said that a lot, but yeah, it really is everything that was anticipated, and that everyone's enjoying it. So yeah, you can check it out on
Yeah, the
Peacock.
shoot.
It's if you want to get together with friends and watch it in theaters, that's like probably the best way. But just watching it just like at home is neat too because it's not the
The
highest
sheer
quality. It's just it's
Yeah.
but it's
The
still
sheer
fun.
difference, the sheer difference between this movie and Dear David, like that you can tell I'm just way more enthusiastic talking about it, and the fact like my general experience for both of them was just the opposite. One I was just constantly captivated by what was going on. The other one I just couldn't give a shit. I watched it online, and I just barely reacted to anything while doing commentary.
Yeah. Yeah, I've mentioned all my criticisms, but like, yeah, I like the movie. What was your
And
score for it? I forget. It's like an
I
eight.
gave it like I gave like in subjective aid because like I'm not sure if it will stay depending on which way I choose to rewatch it, but I hope it does because like that it's probably if it doesn't then it's probably one of my favorite guilty it's already one of my favorite guilty pleasures, but I really just I was maybe like if I look at from a critical standpoint, I would lower it a fair bit, but I don't know. I just want to keep it like that. I already been having a lot of very subjective ratings recently, so I just want to add it. So just it adds as one of the best ones for me.
Yeah, I was a bit more fair to it. I gave it a critical 4 out of 10, but also a part of it is really the fan of me. If I were to genuinely have no attachment to this would be a 3 out of 10. But no, it's a 4. I enjoyed it. It was fun. And for a brief, like, 90 or so minutes, I enjoyed the movie. What a godsend for the dumps. Truly, truly. Yeah.
Yeah, just yeah. I don't really know what much to add other than the fact like yeah, this was originally gonna be like a saw episode. Honestly, I think I'm glad that didn't happen and that it was instead Dear David because Saw is definitely like one of those franchises that just kind of they I've seen the movies like a year ago and it didn't I just it's a bit difficult to talk about because of how much just how weird those films get. So Dear David was a lot more simplistic of a second choice to pick for me,
Yeah, originally it was
even
going
if
to
we
be
didn't talk about it
Saw
much.
X. And if we include Saw X, I would have to also talk about Saw Last Week, which I thankfully replaced with Psycho franchise, so that was a much better option. And I would also have to explain the Saw timeline, and I don't want to imagine that timeline because I would probably sound like a maniac because it makes no sense. But yeah,
I was considering rewatching some movies, but I just could not give a shit. I haven't seen the 10th one yet, but I heard it's like fun, so I'll check it out. I'm not sure. It's probably dumb but enjoyable, which is really all I want. I know I'm not huge on Saw. Like the
yeah.
first movie was good and everything else is just
If
kind
we
of
did Saw
shit
X,
and
that
mid.
would mean you would have to not do your like Friday the 13th like Elm Street stuff. That would be
Yeah,
replaced by
yeah,
Saw. That would have been a bad timeline. Yeah, no. That
yeah. Though I've been having fun. Like outside of two movies, I've had fun so far. So yeah, it's definitely been more worth it than whatever. Like the Saw movies, even back then, I remember a lot of them just being kind of they just went one year and out the other compared to what I'm doing right now, which is a lot more energetic and consistently fun for me to do.
yeah, yeah. This is like way better of an option. This is a short and sweet episode, but I feel like that's a much better way to end off the note of what is like what's been the dumps for the last couple of episodes. We've had a lot of fun to be sure. I don't know if you've watched the episodes, but they've been
I haven't. I've seen your elemental video and but I haven't really sat through a single like podcast episode yet because I like I have to like devote a lot of time and usually I just kind of focus on my comfort stuff more often for that or just watch movies. But I will say I do think that now that I've done this episode, I do feel like I have more interest in checking the other ones out since generally just feels this is a really fun like
Environment.
topic
Yeah.
to make
Yeah.
videos
Topic
on. Yeah,
too.
yeah, environment. This is fun.
Yeah. Um. I know the dumps hasn't been doing well in views, but this has been a nice month for me because it first started with a terrible note with the Texas Chainsaw episode. That one was just exhausting to do, and then we
Texas
had
Chainsaw Pain.
yeah that it was a frustrating week because I had to rush through all of that shit. I had to watch two movies a day in order to meet the deadline. And right when I finished the 2022 one, I immediately started recording, and I was so angry throughout that. I think 1 hour, 1 hour 10 minute run. I know I've talked about that a lot. And then there's the Exorcist episode. There's the Cycle episode. There's also the A Critic one that was just kind of stuffed in there. But
Oh
it's
yeah,
been
I was
it's been fun.
considering marathoning Exorcist and Hellraiser a month ago, but like I just kind of bailed because I don't know, I wasn't feeling compelled, and I figured it wouldn't be worth it that much, so I'm just saving it for another time. And I heard Exorcist Believer is like especially horrible, so I'm glad I won't be seeing that
Yeah,
for a while.
I would say watch the first three Exorcist movies, or if you want to be extremely safe, just watch Exorcist 1 and 3. That's it. Because two
Yeah,
is
I
horrible, but I'd be interested what you'd have to say about it. But yeah.
yeah, just I think with horror franchises, I kind of like even when I hate them, I think they're interesting to do compared to most other typical Hollywood ones because of just how stupid they can get, even for as painful as they are. The only difference is like Texas Chainsaw was like painful aside from the first two. I just did not give a shit watching any of those.
Oh yeah, trust me. The discussions I've had about most of these horror franchises I've done on this podcast have been fun. They've not been worth it view wise, but they've been worth it in terms of fun. Now I've seen a lot of these stupid horror movies, and they're good. And the one regret really was that Texas Chainsaw episode. But you know what? I think some people enjoyed me being angry. So, oh well. The Saw episode timeline that would have probably ruined everything. But
Yeah,
we're in the good timeline now. We have a fun FNAF movie. There was also Dear David, but we don't talk about that. And
yeah.
we had a Psycho episode.
I think FNAF being fun like completed the ultimate movie trilogy this year. Like make sure that like Mario, Ninja Turtles, and FNAF like the three main movies this year I was interested in, and they all managed to be like the exact fun experience I wanted them. Even if FNAF was my favorite, it's just definitely the fact that all three managed to satisfy me in some way in theaters is just enough for make this year more bearable than 2022 for me.
So yeah, we have anything else to say?
Not really. I'm just kind of making. I'm just kind of having fun saying all this type of stuff. Just anything. This has been a fun video for me.
Yeah, yeah, I've had a good time. But yeah, this is
This is like 50
this
minutes
is
or so. 50 minutes. Yeah,
yeah,
that's enough. I'd say.
yeah, that's enough. We'll probably see you
Yeah.
next week with a surprising guest and a couple of Little Women. I am not talking about underage girls. Please do not assume that. But yeah, see you guys on the next one. Thank you for Driftflix for being here. I appreciate you. I
It's all
enjoyed your
right.
time
It's
here.
all right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Do we close?
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right. Yeah.
We
Bye.
close now.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Lee. Oh, he already left. Okay.